Hey everybody, this is Petey from the Spinner Rack, and today I am going to talk about lab rats. Why would I talk about lab rats? Well, this goes back to Simon and Kirby and their kid heroes. I think their first ones they did were the Young Allies, and then they did the Boy Commandos and the Boy Explorers. Just, in kid adventure stories, right? And they tried to keep that going. Did they do anything? Oh, the Newsboy Legion. So they had this sort of finger on doing kids. Now Kirby is sort of one who kind of got all bulky, and I guess post the Human Torch and right after the Human Torch, the X-Men, they immediately bulked up by issue 3 and were heroic size, right? So that's kind of the last time we got to see Kirby doing the kids adventure, even though he did the Dingbats of Danger Street. At some point, post X-Men, somebody in comics decided that putting kids in danger is wrong. You can't put kids in danger, right? You can't. How could Xavier put these kids in danger, right? So, as the X-Men, the new X-Men finally caught flight, which took a while. It caught flight in, I think, 78 or... No, actually, the money-wise, it got there by the 80s. But as it was catching flight, the success of the new X-Men kind of meant, let's point out how wrong the old X-Men were. And Xavier putting kids in a danger room, right? So it's a little more extreme than the Kid Commandos, but the Kid Commandos and these characters that were, fighting the good fight for the war, they were running into danger, right? So at the same time, I think what he had, the New Mutants, which was kind of the smart kids thing, where the kids weren't supposed to go out and fight people. Their headmasters and teachers would say no, but then they would sneak out and get into danger, right? So as you went along, the kid heroes kind of, even though we would find one, but they'd have to be super powerful, like Nova, something like that, with the Kid Nova type of deal. The Young Warriors are in the Teen Titans stage where they were like more in they were more tweens than teenagers type of thing. So the kid hero kind of was not really the thing in style. So when Byrne leaving the X-Men, doing a couple of titles for DC, his first title out the gate, and he was talking about asking to do the X-Men for DC, and they said, well, maybe not right now, right? So he put together a book which he titled, would be like a Young Challengers, called Lab Rats, and it wasn't a success, right? It lasted eight issues. DC allowed him to keep the rights, and they, I believe after the series ended after 8 issues, they sent him something so he would keep the rights, right? So I say all that to say, with the way the climate was, maybe this was the wrong book to put out, but I would say that is wrong. Why do I say that's wrong? Because we have things like the Hunger Games, we have the things like Battle Royale, we have, like those the escape room stories that have kids in danger and killed, Final Destination. We have all these things where, for whatever reason, even to some extent, saw those movies and Lab Rats have a lot in common. And Byrne, since he is, pretty much relentless as far as his storytelling, where anyone can get it, he's one of the best to do this type of thing, right? To do the Happy Death Day, Battle Royale, Hunger Games, putting these kids in danger type of thing, and nobody gets out alive type of storytelling, right? So here's the experiment. We're not going to I don't think I can get through all of this. It's 8 issues. I mean, it's not, Byrne does pretty wide stuff, but we're going to try to do at least the first three, right? So, and Byrne also got in trouble for giving this guy a fade, which is not a big deal. But anyway, in the Tomboy Girls, got in trouble with that, saying, not trouble, but complaints, saying that, not stacked, not, that doesn't look like a girl. But this, and also the art here, this is post working with Tom Palmer on the Hidden Years, the X-Men Hidden Years. So you kind of get that his line had changed and he had gotten into not exactly Neil Adams, but he got something that had a little more Tom Palmer in it. It didn't stay like this, but it was very interesting that right out the gate, we had this gorgeous type of work and great, titles type of thing. And this is the story will reveal itself, right? We already saw that it was from the cover, right? And we see these lab rats already in danger, right? So you get kind of what the story's going to be like from the cover and all these covers that these kids are in these crazy, dangerous things. So it's an interesting thing of how, and then yes, and he's moving from it still has a little bit of the Neil Adams or more like the Alan Davis type layouts, but it's interesting how he has a different approach to it. So a little bit of has some Neil Adams, Alan Davis, some who's that? Joe Kubert type of deal. Joe Kubert was pretty much straight, but there's something in here like following this sort of thing, having those long panels, and we see one of the rats, Gia. She already gets it immediately. We have Quinlan, and they say the kids are dying, so we know, and that this is going to be, not a cakewalk for these kids, right? They're literal lab rats, right? And it's a virtual reality thing, right? That they're in there, but they didn't know it was going to kill people. There's 3 flatline. You have a flatline on 3. Sorry, got it wrong, mixed it up. All right, so here we go. But as the dinosaur is attacking, we got Poe here. I don't think I can give you all of these guys. All right, I know that's Gia and there's Poe. Alex here. Alex was my favorite one. Right here. And that's Dina. And I can't remember who is that. Who is that one? And Wu, that's Wu. There's some others that are going to come in here soon. Right? So they take action against the dinosaur. And then Poe doesn't make it. He gets dropped on the floor. And we get to see this nice foot here. We've seen that in Jurassic. And he's surrounded by velociraptors. Now, I'm not a dinosaur guy. I don't know them. I just like watching them. So don't expect me to describe all of them, right? I think this is Isaac. This new guy comes in here. He's going to be the wide-eyed person seeing it. Man of mystery, right? And now Wu's like, I got to take over, right? And then next thing you know, saying they're beta testing this thing, that maybe it was in Gia's head. Maybe Gia kind of is kind of limited in her thinking, right? And it's right, so they take Gia out. And all this is like digital models put into the comic book, right? And we see the Raptors kind of playing cat and mouse with Poe. And they plan a maneuver. He jumps off the side of a building, side of the cliff. And that gets him away from the raptor, but at the same time gets saved by Alex. And right, but then of course with the paradigms, and they were testing out this thing to find out why, hey, you're not supposed to kill people. So that's why we're testing it out, right? She's explaining that they're going to go on missions and stuff like that to Isaac, right? And she busted her leg in the last one, so she had to sit out, right? And then she describes she's a bunch of lab rats. And I always like this panel here, right? And at the same time, Wu is like, hey, I can change this. He's able to use his mind to create more things and creates an entire ship. But at the same time, it's also the sort of virtual reality thing is sort of feeding on their nightmares. And it's just turning into a mess. You don't know how to get the kids out of it, but so right now Poe is he's trying to concentrate to figure his way out of it, and Alex is not with it. So they open their floodgates to their worst nightmare, right? And then when they crash, and while at the same time, they made it out, right? And they are kind of not really even thought about Gia dying, right? But they've seen somebody die before them. And it seems like kids that are throwaways that are in this thing. And this is, comparable to what happens to certain kids. Not comparable. It's supposed to be like the idea of someone who goes off the track and then they can be put into a bunch of terrible things, right? And I think that's what the Battle Royale type of thing plays off of. And it's a hint of the next story, right? So we're going to do, all right, so it's doing okay. So we'll get the first three and, see, there's spoilers right there if you're paying attention. Alice in Wonderland, right? And the rats are in another bad place. And look at this. And this is a land of make-believe of all the stuff in the story. I think this is Goliath. I think that's one of the Troll Bridge. All of these ones, I don't know if I got them all right, but there's a dragon. And we see, this is Alex? No. Trilby, right? And the story where it starts off and we see Trilby, Marion, and they go to Wonderland, right? So this is like a Disneyland, but with real stuff, like a ton of money put into it. And we see Trilby and Alex together, and Dana, the earrings, right? This is where the rats kind of seem to, and they run into this castle. I think that might be digital too, right? And it says everything is real, but you see sort of the dome area to create it, right? And they have like a tinker like fairies there, able to touch them. same time, they get to see elephants flying. But at the same time, Wu makes his way around this stuff, right? So as we keep going, oh Lord, look at all this stuff, right? All the tech. So this one is, I mean, the Hidden Years had seamless stuff. And this throwback to what Kirby used to do when he used to do his models, his collages and added to it. But you know, when Byrne started, when he would do it, it would seem it kind of pop, be obvious, and now it kind of is really seamless. Whereas even in his own inking or Tom Palmer inking, and then they start explaining what happened, right? At the same time, they run into Goliath. But there's Goliath, it's going to be a David. And he uses his rope to that. And then, of course, David kills the giant. And this, to their surprise, and it looks real. Right? And they run into the guy behind it, the money guy. But she's not with it. And as that, they're going to find out what happens to him. But now they're going to find out what's really going on, right? They sneak to the back, see what had taken Goliath. They smell the sulfur. They realize there's a dead kid like 15, younger than them. We got to get out of here. At the same time, they send some creatures after them. And Goliath is back. He wasn't really killed. So Alex decides to make a run for it. And let's look at this sort of layouts that he got here. It's really nice. And I was like, but he said that nobody was going to be safe in this title. Like they're saying, the people worry about that. And they run into this dragon. Pre-Game of Thrones. All right, so we get to the last part. Now we're doing pretty good, guys. So this started to feel similar to Kirby's return to DC, because it would start here, and then we get a double splash page. The Byrne would go for scale, which would be gorgeous. And as one dragon attacks, we saw one dragon, but then we start with this white dragon. Byrne would start playing with time, where the fans would be like, I don't know, they would struggle with it for some reason when he had stuff like Pulp Fiction and all that, jumping around from time. I think he did it for a couple issues in the Hidden Years, right? So we go back, we see Wu finding out what's going on, them on that. And they're still explaining what happened to Quinlan. And see, they're actually creating these creatures, right? And they have some control thing on her. And it's like much like the one, like my collar, right? And I think this might be some of Byrne's best kids, even though it's not Byrne enough, and it's not obviously he's not the best at kids, but most of the hot guys have a hard time, don't do the best kids. There are other artists that's the same. His kids are fine. There's just some artists that are better at it, right? So as Wu and Dana, they get caught. They find the real mastermind behind all this stuff, and this dragon, right? But this guy who's running the money doesn't believe they're real, right? And these creatures at the same time, woo, they want a revolution. They've been locked up, and at the same time, this dragon is like it's gonna scorch the earth. But then they have the white dragon that comes out of nowhere. And they get into a big battle. And that led to the splash page, right? So we see this dragon go after the other one. So in our minds, it already created the time from the other thing. So we should still have this image in our head, right? Of them running and that dragon, right? And then Dana saves the day, frees her, right? And she puts her hand into this thing. It's just coated to her skin. We've seen that in a lot of high-tech movies, right? Disregard JLA Destiny. And they just start melting, even though most of them were, had some sort of intelligence. They all break down. And then when they get back, Poe has something has a one piece for Quinlan, and they say, of course, they still stay. And the next story is really rough, but it's their first crossover, right? So there we go. We got Lab Rats. It wasn't a success, but as you see, there's a lot of interesting stuff in here. If you haven't bought it, you could probably get it cheap. The whole point is, ultimately, you don't always buy stuff for them being a success. You buy it for your own enjoyment. That's how I bought a lot of Kirby's 70s stuff in the 90s. I was able to get a bunch of it and just enjoy the storytelling and the stories. All right, Spinner Rack out.